Just as a follow-up, how do you balance between independence and stakeholder engagement? Because there are, of course, stakeholders that if you do not engage wisely, the institution may lose its independence. So how do you balance between them?
And unfortunately, when you are working in the realm of elections, you must have a stakeholder engagement, because it's the stakeholder engagement that gives you the trust issue that we are talking about previously. So you must have stakeholder engagement. And luckily for us, we have even legislated the stakeholder engagement. That's why PPLC exists, to bring these parties together. And also, situations arise when all voters want to engage with you. But when you are engaging with the stakeholders, you are limiting yourself only to the process of election. You are limiting yourself only to the transparency of the election. You are limiting to yourself of only the gaps that exist in the process that you want to fix with the help of those stakeholders. For example, if you are going into an election and you don't involve critical stakeholders like women, organizations, or PWDs, or minorities, you will have a problem. But now, how you limit that engagement to independence is that you allow the engagement to take place, but you go back and say, I am independent, and I'll only stick to what the law says that I must do, and therefore you will give me, as a stakeholder, you will give me input, but that input, if it will compromise the independence, then I will not do it.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Nicodemus Bore, do you want to engage the candidate?
Thank you, Chair. Kissinger, when you are describing your CV and yourself, you said you are a reformer. And would wish to tell this honorable panelist an area in which you have really taken up on reforms. And in case you get the opportunity to serve as a chair of IEBC, what kind of reforms will you bring forth to the Commission?
Thank you very much. Yes, I am a reformer. And I must have mentioned that I also worked in human rights for a very long period of time. And human rights and reform are brothers, cousins. In the judiciary, one of the biggest reform program that I was engaged in is the Judicial Transformation Project. And I had mentioned to it previously, which was a US-funded, World Bank-funded project that transformed that judiciary to where it is. I pride myself for that, and nobody can take that away from me. When it comes to other reforms, I said that I was in the GIZ, the German Technical Corporation. My work was basically reform. Reform-based in the sense that you follow up laws which have not been enacted, and you ensure you enact. And we were supporting the Ministry of Justice at the time with a lot of reforms during the GJ laws and supporting the ethics and anti-corruption with combating corruption on laws on corruption. That is reform-based. When it comes to, if I happen to go to IEBC, what reforms will I do? One, have a desk, recruit a person, or if there's there's a legal department there, have a desk in the legal department. Have someone follow up on legislation, policies, and reforms that are pending, that have been enacted in Parliament or that are pending somewhere and so forth, and have them in place. For example, that we spoke about the issues of boundary. We don't have a law on boundary delimitation. But the law is somewhere in the Senate still being worked on. So can we talk to the senator who has proposed that law for boundary delimitation, Senator Kajwang? Can we tell him to speed it up, and what requirements does he require? Because we are critical stakeholders in this electoral process. Number two, the law says you should have an IBC fund, a fund which can change the dynamics of elections in this country, because it will allow basically voters to be properly educated, because you can seek funds from other stakeholders. Can we have this in place as a reform mechanism? So these are some of the basic things in terms of reform that can assist the IEBC. Policies and regulations. We spoke about regulations which are not in place, they are lying there, or they are supposed to be done. That is the critical work in terms of doing these elections. So some of those reforms are the ones that I will pioneer and I'll push for with the help of the Secretariat and other commissioners.